Fall makeup looks can get deep and smoky fast, and sometimes that's exactly what you want. But if you're craving something warm, cozy, and easy, this soft fall look is perfect for real over 50 skin. I'll walk you through it step by step using affordable products so you can follow along with confidence. Something simple, pretty, and totally wearable for any fall day. Grab your makeup and let's do this together. Let's go back in time and I'll show you how I put this look together. I already have on my skincare and my SPF, and I've given them plenty of time to soak in. Skin prep is super important so that your makeup sits better. Now let's get into the fun part and start at the beginning with primer. First up, the Wet n Wild Cooling Hydra Depuffer. I use this only under my eyes. You could use it on your whole face, I suppose, but I really only have a puffiness issue under my eyes. And so I just swipe it on and then gently tap it in. And I feel like this adds just a little bit more hydration and really helps my concealer to lay smoothly and not crease. And then on the rest of my face, I will be using this Catrice Oil Control Primer. I do have combo oily skin, and so a mattifying primer is really helpful, especially through the T-zone, to help keep my makeup in place. As we get into cooler weather, it's not as big of an issue for me as it is in the summertime. Primer is one of those things that really helps mature skin, but it's not one size fits all. You want to pick based on what your skin needs. Hydration if you're dry, blurring if you want smoothing, oil control if you get shiny, like I do, or a longevity primer if you want your makeup to last all day. Then you want to give it about 30 seconds or so to sink in and dry down. You can also stack primers if you want and use more than one. Sometimes I will use an oil control primer, and then I'll use a blurring primer here through the T-zone where I have some enlarged pores. But this is a simple routine, so we're going to just keep it at the one. I also like to put a little hydration on my lips at the start of my makeup process, and today I'm going to be using the e.l.f. lip mask. This just helps ensure that by the time I'm ready for lipstick, my lips are hydrated and plump and also ready for lipstick. For foundation today, I'm keeping it light and using the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator in the shade Light Medium. Super affordable, and it is so good. And it's good on a lot of different skin types too. This summer, I did a comparison of my favorite skin tints, and this one was in it. I will link it up in the cards if you want to see what other products I tested and which one won. Today, I'm going to be putting it on with a makeup sponge. I got this at either TJ Maxx or Ross. Came in this little bag, and there were 10 of them in there. I think it was like $7. You don't have to spend a lot on a makeup sponge. They're all pretty similar. I'm going to put a little bit of this in the palm of my hand. And I've been liking using the palm of my hand rather than the back of my hand. It seems to absorb less. I don't know. And then I'm going to dab in to the foundation, and I have a bunch on there. And so then I'm going to use another part of my palm and kind of dab it off a little. For our mature skin, less is more. Use the least amount of product that you can get away with and get the coverage that you want. And then when you have that blended, you can either go back into where you dabbed off to pick up a little bit, or if you need to, get a little bit more. You're better off using a light coat of foundation and then using concealer only on the areas where you need a little extra coverage than using a lot of foundation all over your face. And I'm not going for full coverage. I'm fine if some of my skin peeks through. I just want to even things out, but still have my skin look like skin and not feel heavy or like I'm wearing a mask. I will take that and like really press it into the sides of my nose because I do have some enlarged pores there, and sometimes it will want to skip over that if I don't do that extra little pressing. I like to start in the center of my face where I want the most coverage and then blend it outward so it stays natural and doesn't get heavy, especially in the hairline. And I still actually have quite a bit on my hand. I use much less if I do it on my palm than if I do it on that side. Now, a touch of concealer just where it's needed. I have rediscovered the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I hadn't used it in a while because my Walmart wasn't carrying my shade, and now they are. This is the shade 110, and it is a perfect fair to light shade if you have cool undertones. I know a lot of people don't like that sponge, but for me, I guess I don't really see a whole lot of difference between that and a doe foot that you put on your face and then shove back down in the bottle. But I also like to just pick some up on a brush and dab it in, because I find I'm using way less by doing it that way. This brush, by the way, is the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush, and it does a really nice job. I only do this for the initial blend, and then I like to just use my fingers and pat it in, because I find that the warmth of my finger really helps to meld the product into my skin. And when you use less product, you're going to find that you have less creasing as well. Then I'm going to grab that sponge and just gently tap along the edge of the concealer to blend it smoothly and invisibly into the foundation. As a 60-year-old woman, my eyesight is not what it once was. My 10x mirror is my best friend, but it's also my worst enemy, because if you use it, you're going to see things in that 10x mirror that nobody else is going to be able to see. But it's really important for you to check and make sure that things are blended, as long as you don't pay too much attention to the other things you see. So I am going to take a quick check, and I also have to straighten out the skin to make sure that I can see all of those little fine wrinkles. And these are the things that someone who is in their 30s and sometimes even their 40s just doesn't even think about, because they don't have to do it. I am also going to take just a tiny little bit of that concealer and put it right on this red spot that I have on the tip of my nose. I am going to be using a light touch of powder. If you have extremely dry skin, especially with the weather getting colder, you may not need or want to powder, but because I do have the combo oily skin, I actually still need to powder even through the winter to help my makeup stay set and last throughout the whole day. I also like to use a little bit of powder under my eyes to set that concealer. It helps keep it from creasing, and it also just kind of helps smooth and blur. You don't want something that's luminous or glowy necessarily under your eyes, because that luminosity is going to actually draw attention and emphasize any lines or wrinkles rather than just blurring them out. So I will be using the L'Oreal Blurfection Pink Powder, and I'm just going to put a tiny bit of it into the cap and then take one of these small little puffs. Aren't these pretty? I got these on Amazon. Came in a set with big ones and small ones and sponges and all kinds of things. And then I'm going to blot up some powder. And then again, in the palm of my hand, I am going to blot some off. And then one more time, tap out the creases. And then just press under the eye. Before I do the second one, I will let you look and see if you think that this looks more blurred than this one over here. If you don't tap out any creases before you put the powder on, you will set those creases in with the powder. You don't want that. And I like to set my under eyes before I do my eyeshadow, because if I get any fallout, it makes it much easier to brush off the powdered area than if it were still tacky from the concealer. Because it's fall and we want it to feel warm and toasty, I am going to go in with a bronzer. This is the Essence Baby Got Bronze in Cinnamon Spice, and it is so good. I really, really like it. You can go ahead and just draw it on, or you can grab a brush. This one is also from e.l.f. It is the Buffing Foundation Brush, and you can dab on that way. And I am just going to put this right under and kind of on my cheekbones to give my face a little warmth. I actually prefer to just put it straight on my face than using a brush. But if you're worried about getting too much by drawing it on, then by all means use the brush until you get a feel for it. And just blend until you feel you have it blended the way it needs to be. Now, if you don't have bangs, you can put some up here in your hairline. Sometimes, especially on windy days, I'll put it up there, because if my hair blows, it's nice to kind of have that camouflage a little bit. You can also put a little bit here under the jawline and use it a little bit like a contour to hide those jowls. And now my complexion is just a little bit less flat, has a little more dimension, a little more warmth. I am not, however, going to do blush until after the eyes are done. I can't tell you how many times I put my blush on and then did my eyes thinking that I was going to go with whatever the tone of my blush was, and ended up with a complete mismatch. So I've kind of learned my lesson, and I do my eyes first, and then pick a blush to go with it. And now that I have my cream bronzer done, I'm going to go ahead with the powder on the rest of my face. I'm going to use that same L'Oreal Blurfection powder, and using a puff, press into the lid, tap it off in my hand, and then pat through the T-zone, starting in the area that needs the most powder, and then working out to the edge of my face. If you only use a light dusting of powder, primarily in the areas you need it, you won't end up looking heavy or cakey. Let's move on to the eyes, because this is where the warm toasty magic really happens. And for the eyes, I'm going to be using this Moira Chasing Eternity palette. It is such a beautiful neutral palette, but you don't have to use this one. If you want to, I'll have it linked down in the description below. But any neutral palette will do. I'm going to tell you the kinds of shades you're going to want to use, and then you can find them in your own collection and get the vibe, if not the exact colors. So the very first thing, I like to use a light skin tone-ish colored shade and just put that all over the lid. If your skin tone is different than mine, you're going to want to use a shade that matches your skin tone. In addition to covering any discoloration on the eyelid, this helps absorb oil if you have oily eyelids, and it provides a smooth base for blending so that your shades will blend more easily. And for that, I just used a big fluffy blending brush. Any fluffy blending brush will do. For the crease shade, I'm going to start with this soft matte right here. It's a little bit deeper than skin tone, and this one happens to be a little bit cool, but we're going to put warmer shades over the top of it, so it's fine. It has a little bit of a pinkish undertone, and I like to first tap it on because I have crepey eyelids that you can see. If I just wiggle back and forth, the skin moves, the brush doesn't move so much. So if you tap first to deposit the color where you want it, and then move the color around, you will be less likely to end up with all of your color right in one spot and then not be able to move it around. This shade gives the eye shape and dimension without going heavy. Notice that I'm keeping it higher and slightly lifted at the outer corner. Think subtle lift, not smoky drama. I'm not pulling it down past the corner of my eye. It's always a good idea to take a look in your mirror and make sure that you can see that crease shade even with your eyes wide open. For the lid shade, I have 3 matte options that I could use. This one here that has a little bit of a reddish undertone, this one here that's a little bit more golden, and then more of a neutral brown. I think I'm going to use this neutral brown down here. And I'm going to use a flat shader brush and then just press it on the entire mobile lid. I got a little bit of fallout there. Don't panic if it happens. Take your powder brush and just flick it away. And we end up with a soft wash of color that is warm and cozy for fall without getting deep and smoky. Then I'm going to take a medium-sized pencil brush, and I am going to go into this deeper brown right here, Limitless, and take just a bit of it right into the outer corner. I'm just going to dab color on, and then I'm going back into that initial big fluffy brush that we used just to blend it out. And I'm going to pull just a little bit of that under the outer lower lash line to connect those areas. I am not getting deep and smoky with this. I'm just putting a little bit on for some dimension in that outer corner. You want to keep this lower lash line super soft so that it ties it all together, but it doesn't drag the eye down and it doesn't feel harsh. Now, you can stop there with the eyes, completely fine. If you feel like it's a little dark in the inner corner here, which I kind of do if I take the dark shade all the way in, go back into that skin tone shade and put just a bit of it right in the inner corner to brighten that area up. I'm not going to do it because I want you to see how the look looks without it. But if you really like shimmer, just take one of the lighter shimmers out of your palette and just put it like on the inner portion to about right at the pupil, and watch how it just brightens everything up. Those people who say you can't wear shimmer if you're over 50, yeah, don't listen to them. Do what you want. I am going to use a little brown liner right at the lash line. You do not have to do this step. If your hands are shaky or you just don't feel like it, don't do it. I'm not putting any eyeliner on the bottom lash line. If you have full dark eyebrows, you may only need to brush them up, maybe run a little bit of clear brow gel through them. But my eyebrows are sparse and blonde and basically non-existent without a lot of help. So I am going to first use a micro pencil. This one is from CoverGirl. It's the Easy Breezy Brow Pencil in Soft Blonde. And I will brush what little brow hair I have up and then draw them in. I'll be right back. I'll also be using the e.l.f. Wow Brow because my brow hairs are so blonde. It is helpful to use a brow gel that has some tint to it. And for this, I drag out the trusty 10X mirror. I brush them the opposite way they grow, and then the way that I want them to lay. That way I get color on all around the hair and not just on top of it. By the way, a hack for grooming your eyebrows, if you have really blonde eyebrows, is to just kind of put this all over. Obviously not when you're doing your makeup, when you're going to be grooming. And it will help you be able to see the small hairs that are blonde that are otherwise very difficult to see. Gonna curl my eyelashes. If you do this, do it carefully so you don't yank out your eyelashes. I've been loving tubing mascaras lately. They don't flake, they don't smudge, and they come off so easily. They're really gentle for our mature eyelashes. I am going to be doing a comparison of drugstore tubing mascaras in the coming days. And so if you want to make sure that you don't miss that, then subscribe, hit that notification bell, and set your notifications to all. The default is not all. YouTube decides what it wants to show you. If you want to see all of them, you have to change that setting. So this is the Essence Lash Without Limits tubing mascara, and I absolutely love it. It is hard to believe that it's only $4.99. A quick 2 coats on the top, 1 light coat on the bottom, and a little bit of time to make sure it's dry before I move my eyes around too much, and the mascara is good to go. Make sure you check with your 10X mirror that you don't have any mascara flakes or dots from putting it on if you've opened your eyes too wide and have touched your eyelashes to the upper part of your lid. It's very easy to just take a clean spoolie or a stiff brush and flick them away once you let it dry. And now that the eyes are done, we can go back to blush. I'm going to use the Kokie Soft Gradient Blush in Bellissima. This is a really pretty warmer toned blush for fall. Two-toned, you can get lighter or darker or just swirl them together, which is what I'm going to do today. For placement, you don't want to go too close to the nose or on the apples of the cheeks. That whole smile and put it on the apple. Unfortunately for us, when you smile and you then don't smile, the apple is now down here, and that will drag your face down. So you want to gently tap, and if you have too much, go ahead and tap some off onto a palette or a paper towel. And you want your blush to start about at the outer portion of your eye and sweep up. You can kind of curve it around in a C if you want a little bit of lift, if you like that look. Play around with placement on your face and see what you think looks best. It's okay to play with makeup. Play with it sometime when the stakes are low, you know where you're going, and if you don't like it, you can just wash it off. And with blush, as with everything, start slow. It's easier to add than it is to take away. Once again, grab your blending sponge with that little bit of remnant of foundation on it and just blend all around the edges to make it seamless. This next step is completely optional. It is a setting spray. I like using a setting spray because I typically put my makeup on in the morning and I want it to last 12 or 14 hours. If you're not wearing your makeup that long, setting spray probably isn't that big of a deal, but I am going to put one on because if you want to, I want you to see the process. I am using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Matte Finish Mist. This says it gives you up to 16 hours of wear, and I have found that it actually does extend the life of my makeup. It has a nice mist, but it's not as fine as some. So you want to make sure that you press quickly and sharply and don't get it too close to your face. Let it dry just a little bit, and then you can just tap it in to make sure that there aren't any little spots that are too heavy. Also, if you feel your blush has gotten a little strong, you can go back to that powder puff you used earlier. Don't put anything else on it and just kind of dab over, and that will also tone it down if you've gotten a little heavy-handed. I tend to be a little blush blind, but I like a strong blush. For the lips for every day, I love a tinted balm. It's comfortable to wear, it's easy to put on, you can reapply it without even using a mirror, and it just really gives you a hint of color with a nice gloss that just really help our mature lips to look and feel fantastic. And for that today, I'm using my new absolute favorite formula, the Maybelline Lifter Glaze. I have 2 of these. This one is in 006 Caramel Glow, and my new one is a more mauve tone. I'm sorry I don't have the shade right at my fingertips, but I will put it on the screen because if you're doing a cooler toned look, it is perfect with that. And so first off, I'm going to remove any remnant of that lip mask that I put on when we started. Because if you have an oil or something like that on your lips before you put on your lipstick, it's going to affect how long it wears and it might cause it to break up. You don't want to skip something on your lips because it will pull the whole look together. This is such a beautiful, warm nude shade. I wear it all the time. I bought this in May, and that's all that's left. I use this a lot. Okay, I removed that because I want to show it to you now if you prefer or need to have a lip liner. And the Maybelline Lifter liners are really nice liners. This one is in Out of Line. They're a regular sharpener pencil, which I kind of like sometimes because you can get a really sharp point on them. I like to follow my natural lip line. If I try to overline, I feel like I have just colored outside the lines and I don't feel that it looks good on me. Then I'm going to reapply this. And you can see it just gives it a little more definition, kind of bumps it up a notch. If you want it to stay really casual, go without the liner and it will be just fine unless you find that it does bleed. I have not had that issue if I wear it by itself, but everybody's lips are different. And that's it, a soft, cozy, warm fall look that's quick, wearable, and perfect for women over 50. And if you do want that richer glam fall look, then take a look at my cranberry fall makeup tutorial that I linked right there. Thanks for being here, and remember, stay confident, stay curious, stay you. See you in the next one. God bless.